My name is Imran Qureshi. In 2019, I was working as a night supervisor at a small textile warehouse on the outskirts of Lahore. The job paid well, but came with long, lonely night shifts. The warehouse was old, built in the late 80s with cracked walls, flickering tube lights, and a single restroom at the far end of the ground floor. That toilet was infamous among the staff. People joked that it was cursed. Some claimed they heard whispers. Others said the flush worked by itself. I laughed at all of it. I believe fear came from imagination, not from tiles and pipes. One rainy Tuesday night, around 2:10 a.m., I felt a sharp pain in my stomach. I grabbed my phone and keys and walked toward the restroom. The power backup lights were on, throwing weak yellow shadows along the hallway. Every step echoed, louder than usual. The toilet door was half open. That was strange. The cleaner Salim always locked it after his shift. I pushed the door fully open. Inside, the air was damp and cold. The single bulb above the mirror flickered like it was struggling to stay alive. I locked the door behind me and sat down. As I reached for my phone, I heard it. A soft splash. At first, I thought it was water dripping from a pipe. Then it happened again. Slow, heavy, like something moving inside the bowl. I froze. I leaned forward and looked down. The water was swirling, but the flush handle had not moved. The sound stopped suddenly. I told myself it was pressure in the pipes. Old buildings do that. I tried to calm my breathing. Then I heard breathing. Not mine. It was low and, well, like someone trying to breathe through water. I looked around the stall. There was no one. The sound was coming from below me, from the toilet. I stood up so fast the seat slammed shut. My hand was shaking as I backed toward the door. That was when the light went out completely. Total darkness. My phone screen was the only light. In that glow, I saw water slowly rising from under the seat. It was dark, almost black and thick like oil. My phone vibrated. A message notification. Unknown number. The message read, "Don't leave." I waited years. My stomach dropped. I had no signal in that part of the building. No one knew I was in there. The breathing grew louder, faster. The toilet lid began to lift on its own inch by inch like something was pushing from inside. I screamed and banged on the door, but my voice sounded distant, swallowed by the walls. The smell changed. It was no longer sewage. It smelled metallic like blood. The lid snapped fully open. Something pale broke the surface of the water. I saw fingers. Human fingers. Bloated, wrinkled nails, blackened and cracked. They gripped the rim of the bowl tightly, as if whatever was inside was trying to pull itself out. That was when I realized I had heard this story before. Years ago, a worker named Rashid had gone missing during a night shift. Management said he quit without notice, but some cleaners whispered that he collapsed in a restroom and was never found. I never believed them, until the fingers tightened, and a voice whispered my name. Imran. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The sound slid directly into my ears, wet and broken like a throat that had been underwater for too long. I stumbled back and hit the sink. My phone slipped from my hand and fell screen down. Darkness swallowed the room again. The fingers pulled harder. I heard a sickening crack as something forced itself upward. The smell was unbearable now. Rot, rust, and something sweet that made me gag. I slammed my shoulder against the door. It did not open. The breathing turned into coughing. Then words. They locked it. They said I ran. I felt my legs weaken. I knew the voice. I had heard it during tea breaks, laughing, arguing about cricket scores. Rashid. I fumbled for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam shook as it landed on the bowl. What I saw still visits my dreams. A head had emerged from the toilet. The skin was gray and sagging, eyes sunken but wide open. Water streamed from its mouth and nose. His jaw hung at an unnatural angle. Rashid's eyes locked onto mine. They never came back, he said. I knocked until my hands broke. The fingers gripping the bowl were bent backward, bones clearly visible beneath the skin. One arm followed, dragging itself out inch by inch. I screamed again and kicked the door with everything I had. This time the lock snapped. I ran. I did not look back. I sprinted through the hallway, slipped on wet tiles, and slammed into a stack of boxes. Behind me, I heard something dragging across the floor. Slow, determined. I reached the main gate and shoved it open. Rain soaked me instantly. I did not stop running until I reached the security booth outside the compound. The gardener stared at me like I lost my mind. I was shaking barefoot, covered in filth and water. When I tried to explain, my words collapsed into sobs. We went back with flashlights and 2 other guards. The restroom was normal. Clean, dry, no broken door, no overflowing toilet, no smell, but the mirror had something written on it. Not with soap, not with marker. It was etched into the glass. Still here. Management dismissed it as stress. They gave me a week off. I resigned the next day. 2 months later, the warehouse shut down for renovations. During demolition, workers found human remains inside an old sealed drainage chamber connected to the restroom. The skull was fractured. The fingers were broken. The report said the body had been there for years. Rashid's family finally got answers. I never told the police everything. Some things cannot be explained without sounding insane. But sometimes late at night, my phone vibrates with no notification. And when I use the bathroom, I swear I hear water moving, even when I have not flushed. Waiting. This is not a legend. It is not a creepypasta. It happened to me. I was living alone in a small rented house. The house was old, built sometime in the late 80s, with thin walls and plumbing that made strange noises at night. I worked late shifts at a printing shop, so coming home after midnight was normal for me. That night, I came back around 1:40 a.m. The electricity was out, which was also normal. I used my phone flashlight and went straight to the bathroom before sleeping. The bathroom was outside the bedroom, connected by a narrow hallway. The toilet had one of those old ceramic bowls with a high water level. I clearly remember thinking the water looked darker than usual, but I blamed the flashlight angle. I locked the door and sat down. That is when I heard the first sound. It was not a splash. It was not a drip. It sounded like someone breathing underwater. Slow, controlled breaths. Inhale, exhale. I froze instantly. My first thought was a plumbing issue. Old pipes can trap air, I told myself. But pipes do not breathe with rhythm. I leaned forward and aimed my flashlight directly into the bowl. The water moved. Not ripples. Something beneath the surface shifted like a shadow, turning over. The breathing stopped the moment my light touched the water. My heart started pounding, so hard I could hear it in my ears. I stood up, flushed without thinking, and watched the water swirl violently. For a brief second, I swear I saw something pale press against the inside of the bowl before it vanished down the pipe. I did not sleep that night. I stayed in my room with the lights on until morning, convincing myself I was tired and imagining things. By daylight, the bathroom looked normal. No smell, no marks, no reason to panic. For 3 days, nothing happened. On the 4th night, I woke up around 3 a.m. with an intense urge to use the toilet. I tried to ignore it, remembering what I saw, but my body would not cooperate. I took my phone and slowly walked to the bathroom. The door was already open. I always close it. Always. Inside, the toilet lid was up. The light was off. I stood there listening. Then I heard it again. Breathing. Louder this time. Wet and close, like someone breathing through a mouth full of water. I whispered hello, without knowing why. The breathing stopped. Then the water level started rising. Slowly. Too slowly to be a blockage. The surface trembled and a smell filled the room. Not sewage. Something rotten, like old meat left in the sun. I backed away, but my foot hit the door frame. The sound echoed in the bathroom. Immediately, something hit the underside of the toilet bowl. A solid thud. The ceramic shook. Another thud. Stronger. I ran back to my room and locked the door. From inside my bedroom, I could hear water sloshing onto the bathroom floor. Then came a sound that still makes my stomach turn. Scratching from inside the pipes. The scratching went on for nearly 10 minutes. Long dragging sounds like fingernails scraping against metal. I sat on my bed holding a kitchen knife, shaking so badly I could barely breathe. Then suddenly silence. In the morning the bathroom was flooded. Dirty water covered the floor, but the toilet itself was clean. No cracks, no damage. When I told the landlord man named Khalid, he looked uncomfortable. He did not ask many questions. He sent a plumber the same day. The plumber, an older man named Rashid, inspected the pipes and went very quiet. He asked me if I lived alone. When I said yes, he told me something I wish I never heard. 2 years before I moved in, the previous tenant was found dead in the bathroom. He had been alone for weeks. According to neighbors, he had complained about sounds from the toilet and foul smells. One night the pipes burst. When they broke open the floor, they found his body wedged in the sewage outlet. The report said he slipped and got stuck. Rashid looked me straight in the eye and said, "Beta people do not get stuck like that." That night I decided to leave. I packed a bag and planned to stay at my cousin's place. Before leaving, I went to the bathroom one last time just to prove to myself that I was not afraid. The toilet lid was down. I had not touched it since morning. As I turned to leave, I heard a soft knock. From inside the bowl, 3 slow taps. Tap, tap, tap. Then a voice muffled and wet whisper my name. Awise. I ran out of the house barefoot and never went back. The landlord kept my deposit. I did not care. For weeks afterward, I had nightmares of sitting toilets and dark water. Even now, years later, I cannot use a bathroom at night without turning every light on. Some people will say this is just fear, stress, imagination. But I know what I heard. I know what I saw move under that water. And sometimes when I am alone and the house is quiet, I still hear breathing when I flush. Slow, patient, waiting.